Hey everybody, welcome back into the Lettermen Lounge. We are at Roosters on Olentangy River Road in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, the greatest city in the world. A lovely spring day out there. Spring football's going on. The Buckeyes practiced on Monday morning. Number 5, Pro Day is tomorrow, which is also Appetizer Tuesday to come get your mozzarella cheese sticks at Roosters. And there's still some basketball to watch, although Ohio State's not in here. But my bracket is still better than yours, Bob, so...
Mine's not far behind.
I know, and I don't have my national champion. So
I have Gonzaga and Baylor still.
So you're about to pass me.
Not Baylor. Who I have? Gonzaga. And who's the other team? The one seed in the Michigan. I have Gonzaga and Michigan still alive. So if my Final Four breaks out, I'll got a shot.
Bob, big Michigan guy, pulling for them to get through. I know.
I had Illinois. I had like 3 Big Ten teams. I went so heavy on the Big Ten, and then literally. In local brackets, I'm doing all right because a lot of people went heavy in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Nationally, like, slaughtered.
Not working out. Bobby Carpenter, Cardale Jones, Spencer Holbrook jumping in with us. A lot to discuss with these Buckeyes. And let's start with Pro Day because I think, I remember, Cardale, your experience going through. You let me shadow you around a little bit through one of the wilder ones that Ohio State has ever had with you and 11 other draft picks, 12 draft picks going out there to make some money. A quarterback, Justin Fields situation. We've talked about him for the last couple years, and he's become the most scrutinized, I think, player in this draft. What will he be thinking about today? What's he trying to accomplish tomorrow?
I mean, it's hard especially at that position, because that comes with a lot of scrutiny, period. Good, bad, or indifferent player, no matter where you play. But when you got a guy like Justin who's proven so much, but still it seemed like, just because he wasn't able to, the Buckeyes with him behind center were able to get a national championship, it's almost like he still fell. But you look at guys who did so not even close to his resume and did decently well, and they get all this hype and praise and should be the guy and this and that and this and that. And you just like, what? Like, let's not forget about the guy in Columbus, So I think he will try to, hopefully he tried to this whole process to eliminate all the outside noise and to focus on what he do, focus on the things he do extremely well, and go out there and show tomorrow that he is, definitely a top 2, if not number 1 quarterback in this draft.
So one of the things with Justin that I think is underrated, and I've been talking around and trying to dig in this because all these moves are being made, and it looks like Trevor Lawrence is going 1. I think a lot of people reserve.
Urban said today that he's leaning towards Trevor Lawrence.
He can say whatever he wants because you got the first pick.
Yeah,
I mean, you can say this, you can say it it doesn't matter because no one else can jump you. Like, there's no way to get ahead of you. You can say whatever you want. It looks like potentially Zach Wilson might be leaning towards second with the Jets, and then all of a sudden it's like there's this big movement where the Niners jump up and Dolphins. It's 3-way trade, getting everything going essentially. And it's like, well, who are they coming up for? Some people say Mac Jones. Is it Fields? Doesn't really feel like that with how Kyle, what he wants to do offensively. Which I'm like, Justin's really athletic. He moves around really well. He throws a great deep ball, which is something they really didn't have a lot of with Garoppolo. So that would kind of answer that question. And then I've heard a lot more as I've looked at this, is it Trey Lance? Like, well, Trey Lance hardly even played. I mean, people talk about Justin not having a whole lot of games. I mean, he didn't play at all this year, and it's not his fault.
Yeah.
But the thing that so Justin, he's a quiet kid, but he's very confident, and I think he's really become a great leader the last year. And you heard him obviously at the start of the season trying to help the season to get kicked off again and initiating that. And I think that he really grew and matured as a man. And I think one of the problems that he's having as much as anybody, and it hurts him because he doesn't get in front of a room at the combine where you talk to all these guys. You're drafting a quarterback in the top 10. GM's like, dude, you're pulling out, I'm stamping this, and like, for better or worse, you're chaining to you.
Exactly.
And if you fail, I mean, you think about
both out of here.
Yeah, we're both out of here. You look at what's going on in Chicago right now, and it's like, okay, like Trubisky wasn't in. I mean, you got 1 year to fix this problem, or else you're both done.
Exactly.
And so that's Ryan Pace. That's what he's dealing with. And so I think you want to feel really comfortable with the guy. And I think Justin, I mean, he's a firm handshake. He's going to look you in the eye. He's a very impressive young man. And I think he's grown a lot, since when he was younger and went to Georgia, and then obviously coming here and becoming the guy. And I think, for me, he's going to throw well. Like, he's an accurate quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to look fine. You're throwing routes on air. Cardale will tell you, throwing routes on air, man. Like, the guys in a controlled environment. Maybe yesterday in the windstorm, a little more difficult. But inside. But I hope that he's able to get some time. to be able to like talk to, because there's gonna be some head coaches and GMs here that are interested, to like sit there and like, even if it's just a couple minutes, because he's a very impressive young man, to like, you know, I like that kid, like, and then you start going back and you review the film with you knowing in your mind you already like some of his non-physical attributes and the quote intangibles, and you look at it a little bit differently. Like, okay, yeah, I can see this, I can see that, because, yeah, right there, because you feel like you know who the guy is then, you know what he's thinking, and he has the responsibility, and you feel like I can hand a franchise to this guy and be okay.
Yeah, I just don't get it, man. I mean, pro days is great. I think more so for defensive players, more so for the big guys up front. I want to see them move. I want to see them you can really move without the pad zone, and can you really bend and things like that, because you might have limited opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that, you know, all the hype that Zach Wilson been getting in the last couple of days over at this pro day. I mean, yeah, he made some pretty good throws, but those are throws you're supposed to make. But the one that he was backing up and just launched downfield, you can't teach that, right? But I want to see what a guy can do when a freaking 300-pounder is moving almost as quick as you, and he just got in untouched, and you can stand out there and throw the ball downfield. And Justin has proven to be able to do that. And not saying Zach hasn't, but or any of these quarterbacks haven't, because these are some really good quarterbacks. And when you look at the more real-life situations that these quarterbacks are going to be in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields have definitely been in more of those type of situations, far as throwing a guy open, far as, like I said, when a guy's free, standing there and take that hit, or you got to stand there or make a guy miss, whatever it may be, instead of them being, you know, the Great Wall of China and you having 10 minutes to throw the ball downfield to the Heisman Trophy winner, or, you know, running around playing the guys over out. What is BYU conference?
They're independent.
Independent.
Oh, independent.
There you go.
Okay.
That's why
So some of the guys that you know Wilson was playing against that probably couldn't, you know, Cincinnati go out there and wipe them all clean. No offense to Cincinnati, but I want to see guys perform at a high level versus high competition for the most part.
And that's what I like. Spencer and I have joked about this every time one of these mock drafts come out. Or today it's going to be Mac Jones. Tomorrow it's Trey Lance. That they're putting like. This guy that didn't play but one game last year at a completely different level of football, not that he was in independent or playing a Mountain West schedule. The guy was at the FCS level compared, and we're knocking Justin Fields for the Northwestern game when he didn't have his top receiver, and you had.
They might have 2 first-round draft picks on that team. Like,
I mean, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's so tough when you start comparing quarterbacks, especially because you got to look at it all around the country, not just conference, not just divisions, levels, things like that. But I just, like I said, I'm going to base guys. That's why I never get into recruiting. Another thing, I never pay attention to recruiting guys coming from high school to college, because this guy was a dominant guy and freaking a suburb of Cincinnati, and they played all these, you know, low-level teams that you never heard of, and then they go to a major school, a major program, and he's just a guy.
Right.
And you're like, what happened to that guy? Well, look who he was playing. Look who he was going against for the most part of his development. You know, that's what happened to the guy. Yeah. You know, but you got some of those exceptional stories that guys are, you know, really well. I mean, if he's a dog, he's a dog, but it's not like that in a lot of places and in a lot of situations.
Yeah, not to say that a Mountain West schedule can't produce a superstar like Josh Allen.
For sure.
Well,
and
I don't want to sit here and bash on the other guys, because there are. It's not Trey Lance's fault they didn't play. Right. Just like it's not Justin's fault he only got 6 or 7 games until the playoff. Like, you can only do and control what you can. So it's not necessarily that, but I think if you look at Justin's whole body of work from his sophomore year, last year, there's a couple games in there, didn't play all that well. How did he respond? How did he answer? Played really well against one of the better teams in the country in Clemson. Like, no one's going to argue that. Against Alabama, okay, he didn't play terrible. It wasn't like he was the reason they were struggling. Yeah. They had a lot of issues, but he was all right. You look back to the season before, played really well against Clemson in that game for the most part. Like, they had some issues, played pretty good, for the majority of the season. And like, the one thing that people have been hammering on, that I've heard is his lack of anticipation. I'll say the interception he threw against Clemson in 2019. He anticipated He anticipated. That's why it was intercepted. Yeah. Because Chris saw the wrong. That he misread it, and he's anticipating where he's supposed to go. Boom! He hits it in there, and that's why he threw the ball. Like, that's why it was intercepted. He was anticipating that throw. Like, some mid-range stuff, he'll tell you. Like, that's the hardest thing to teach those guys is, you start getting those 12 to 18-yard crossing routes for the middle of the field, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And that just comes with reps, and it comes with development if you've shown you have the ability to do that. Yeah. And so he's proven that. And I feel bad because there's just been this narrative out there, like, all of a sudden he's not this, he's not that. Well, I don't know if any of these other guys really are either, and they haven't proven to me that they have a better skill set.
Not at all. I think, man, one guy that I've always been high on ever since he stepped foot on a football field in college was Trevor Lawrence. And I think every year he's been in school, I think he's been the number one pick, even over my boy Joe last year.
Yeah.
That's how good he is, and he has the anticipation. He has all the tools you think about. He's smart. He's a leader. He can run, which I had no clue until last year.
Fast.
Yeah, and until he took off on Ohio State.
Yeah.
But if I'm comparing a guy to that who's the next most rated quarterback in this draft to go into a locker room and potentially be the guy from day one, I'm going to go with Justin. And then all these guys, everybody got their top 5 quarterbacks. My top 5 will be a little bit different because then I'm going to go with Mac Jones. And then I'm going to go with Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
So, and then all these other guys. I mean, you got great quarterbacks, but you got, like you said, the things that you're going to have to do on the next level. These guys do it really well, and still he's going to continue to get better with it.
Well, one of the things, too, you mentioned Mac Jones, and not to knock him, I mean, he was doing 7-on-7 all year.
That's what I'm saying. He's behind the great. Yeah, I get that. But one thing you can't dispute though is his accuracy.
He's very ready.
Yeah. You cannot dispute his accuracy. You can dispute his smarts on the football field. And that's one thing I can say. And from seeing him play in person, Ohio State versus
he's good.
I was like, this guy's pretty good.
I just don't know how high his ceiling is. I think he's got a really high floor.
Point.
He's really developed. You can come in, and I was talking to someone about it where year 1, you're like, man, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
Year 3. Yeah, he's pretty good. In year 5, like, he's pretty good. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if there's that next level to him where you're like, this guy could become, a perennial Pro Bowler or whatever it is. And when you're taking guys that high, you want to be able to have that, not just someone who, I think he has the ability to kind of be a little bit Kirk Cousins-ish, Andy Dalton-esque. Like, he does everything pretty well.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a great arm, and you can win like that. I just don't.
Exactly.
And you can win early like that, which is big. But I just don't know if he has those any elite traits that would really separate him when you start talking about Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes and guys like that where, hey, the generational dudes, and then we're splitting hairs on this, but I just feel like I don't know if he has any of those skills because you never really had to see him, to tell you the truth, and that's not his fault either.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. I mean, they had one of the most talented teams. I had the opportunity of watching, in person. But like I said, certain things you still can't knock about the guy because he's a winner. And it's so hard when we target distinguished players, period, when it comes to 1 year of tape.
Yeah.
People thought, you guy can turn around, but did Daniel Jones go to Duke, right? 1 year in Duke. So people thought he was the next Peyton Manning from the day he stepped on an NFL football field.
It's weird how, Cardale, it's weird how guys like Daniel Jones get the benefit of the doubt because, we worked with David Cutcliffe, and he should know the game just like Peyton did. And, for 1 year of tape, and then Justin Fields is absolutely shredded for one game.
Yeah, and then a guy like Trey gets 1 game of tape, and he's the next greatest thing. It's weird. I really wonder how these buzzes start around these players, not just quarterbacks, and who's back there with their phone or on Twitter like, let me start this buzz. Guys, you got to go see this guy down in freaking North Dakota State. He played 1 game, but golly, this game was unreal. He's going to be the guy.
Yeah. He threw 2 picks in that game. The 1 game he's played this year, I think he threw 2 interceptions. I think they were trailing.
But it happens.
Don't take him.
If
it happens.
If there's one guy in this draft, though, quarterback-wise, that's the toughest, because usually every year around this time we're starting to hear, which quarterback is most durable, which quarterback is the toughest. We haven't heard that one bit this year.
Who has the biggest hands?
We're not hearing the typical narratives. The toughest quarterback in this draft is Justin Fields. If you look at what he did after that in that Clemson game, the kid is just tough.
I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence still. I'm going to go. I think Trevor Lawrence still the toughest. I think overall Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this draft.
He's really good.
Yeah.
One thing I will say that Trevor Lawrence is a big physical dude.
That's
both him and Justin, when you put them up there, it's 2 impressive looking guys. They're both 230, 235 plus
in their own way.
Physically developed.
Exactly.
Trevor's a little longer. Justin has massive legs. He's a strong human being.
Yeah. Good player.
The toughest quarterback on the market might be sitting right here.
There you go.
That's no comment.
We need to call your guy, Urban, Get him down there.
Go down there and work with Urban and Trevor Lawrence.
One of your all-time. You're one of the all-time favorites.
No, I don't think so.
All-time favorite list.
It's a funny thing. I know Cardale's been out doing some training in Arizona. He's still out there. I was thinking about before he sat down, he's on the comeback trail, but it was only a year ago that you were playing. COVID just changed everything. It feels like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure, man. I cannot tell you how much I felt in going out to Arizona earlier this month and really getting with a quarterback coach, Donovan McNabb, and really getting back into almost like the things we were doing was almost like if you were in camp or mini camp type of drills you're going to do. You spend so much time with your coach on the field. And I remember it was like, man, I don't remember feeling like this days after. Still sore all over, but I was like, golly, you don't remember that feeling, but you kind of miss it, right? So trying to get back to that. So we'll see.
So go back to your pro day and George Whitfield and the script, whatever you guys wanted to accomplish, that process. Now Justin Fields will be going through the same thing tonight with the throws he wants to make. Obviously, there's some feedback from the NFL with what they want you to do, the scouts. What was that process like to get ready for what you needed to do on a day like tomorrow?
Your pro day is all about you and your guys. So you guys, like you said, you picked the script. So we did it almost one thing, a knock on me. A knock on Ohio State on the system we ran was we never was under center and we never was in huddle and things like that. So after, I had Mike Thomas, I had Jalen Marshall, I had Ezekiel Elliott, I had Jeff Green, I had Nick Lynette. So we had your typical 7-on-7 style guy, and I had Pat Elflein for my center. So, I had Joe Hell for my center. So it was more so every time we had our scripts and we had plays. So we called our plays in the huddle and we just lined up. So we broke the huddle every trip, and, we went from outside to in. So I take a snap, boom, I got my slant with Mike. I take a snap, boom, I got my stick route with Nick. Boom, I take my snap, I got a backshot slant with Jalen. Take my snap, I got a swing route with Zeke. Take my snap, and I got a hitch with freaking Jeff Green. And then we all came back to the huddle. So we was running actual plays, and people wanted to see me personally communicate the line of scrimmage. And we did some things with some audibles in there and things like that, just with the communication part of, you don't usually have in a spread type offense. So we knew some of the things that we really love to do and things that made us to get to that point, throwing off the deep ball, and certain guys want to make sure they want to run certain routes. So it's really all about them. And then at the end, like you said, a team might pull a guy to the side, like, hey, let me see you run this again or do this again. So,
Bob, the process, were you hurt getting ready for the draft? I remember.
Yeah, so I did everything on pro day.
Okay.
My pro day was a full day's work combine, and that was back. I don't think you were too young, Cardale, but guys would come. They used to let recruits come. That was part of it. They let recruits come too, and so Tress, oh gosh, I hated him. I used to get in a fight with it because they wanted recruits to be there, and I'm like, it's not about them. It's about us.
About trying to make a couple million today.
Giving you 4 years. Okay, can you at least give me one day? I don't want to be starting my pro day at 11:30, 12 o'clock, and have this thing drag on till 4:30, which is what happened. Oh, and by the way, Mick runs this thing like a top. They never cut the clock on us. AJ Schleiks and I went for about 40 minutes of just drops and everything. At the end, after I'd already done 40, shuttle, bench, squat, everything. I'd done all that stuff. And they just let them keep going. Buzzer goes off. They just keep running. No one says a word. I'm like, dude, my legs are heavy, starting to hurt.
Yeah.
And, it's good with that. But it was a long day, man. Really long day. We had 9 guys drafted in my class, 5 first-rounders. So it was similar to his deal. There was 70 people there. We had Bill Coward. There was a handful of head coaches and GMs. It was a pretty stellar deal. But and it's packed all over the field. You're trying to get places. They're trying to do stuff, and it was just there's a lot going on. But it was a fun day. You're relieved when it's over because at that point, we used to fly around. Then we'd have visits and stuff. They don't have that now. Now visits me and the screen, but.
Yeah.
The hay, the proverbial hay was in the barn. I have nothing more I can show you physically. You have my film.
Yeah.
I've done this combine, whatever it is, Senior Bowl, All-Star games, and now I've given you the last bit of work. You've seen everything. Do this, do that, and there's nothing left.
Yeah, I think if I can remember, because I remember right after the combine, we had probably about 5 to 6 weeks for our pro day, and it was all hands on deck. I thought the combine training was brutal, but I hate the drills and all that little stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the cone drills. And
yeah,
prepping
exactly.
for the 40,
But
they expose non-athletes.
Yeah, pretty much. But prepping for the pro day was completely different. Then you had I don't know if hopefully they get back to this point because one thing I really enjoy, like you said, the team visits and then teams come in and they work you out individually and then you talk ball with them. I can remember 2 days before the draft, man, I ended up not getting drafted to him. I played for 2 years for the Chargers, and Shane Steichen, the quarterback coach, flies out to freaking Cleveland, Ohio, got him in the Ville. got Shane at the Ville. He
Outside?
like, where am I? Yeah. No, we did board work first. We did board and board and film work first. And then we took him to the Ville, and randomly, I was headed up to Cleveland. I get a text, hey, does Shane Steichen want to come work you out? I'm just like, where are you? He's like, where are you? I was like, I'm headed to Cleveland. He's like, I'll meet you there. So, I remember just calling all my buddies to see who's in Cleveland, all my high school teammates. Can you guys come run routes for me, please? Just come catch the ball. So before I had a complete disclaimer with Shane, I'm like, hey, Shane, man, I don't know last time this guy caught a ball. So let's just have him catch routes. I'm like,
You're not here to evaluate.
Yeah, let's not have him throw. I said, let's not have him run routes. Let's just have him catch them. Because I don't know, he might tear something. This is
you guys liable for this?
Yeah, exactly. But just having him like freaking come to the Ville, and then the gate was locked. Our gate was locked. So I had to,
Ted Senior, man, like.
Well, it was still a school day.
Yeah.
So I freaking had to hop the gate. Right, I had to hop the freaking gate, right?
I wish the police would have came. That would have been better.
It would have been horrible.
That's good.
Having me and the NFL coach hop a freaking 12-foot gate to get into this football field.
That's amazing. I'll tell you, so we had I got two workout stories that similar to that, because you're trying to find people. And so I had Paul Pasqualoni, who, is reputation, old school Penn State linebacker, coached at Syracuse, Coach Donovan. Next thing you see him, man, ask him about Pasqualoni, dude. Like all those guys, he was his head coach. Yeah. I mean, dude, it was like, I'm trying to think of the hardest coach. Like, I mean, you take Fick and amped up by 20. Dude, it wasn't even real. He'd be yelling on like Fridays at our practices in the NFL. He comes to work us out, and I'm like, hey, how long? He's like, 20 minutes on the board, 20 minutes on the field. I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I lifted weights beforehand. I did like decent little workouts. Then we go there. I was like, hey, do you care if my brother comes? He was a rising junior at Cincinnati. He's like, yeah, I'm come over there. Like, so my brother shows up. He's got like flip-flops and like shorts on. Next thing you know, we're like 25 minutes in this work outside, and he's going to the basic. Hey, John, get over here. And he's like, he's going with me. Like, and we worked out for like an hour and 10 minutes. He's got
my God.
He's like, I had Dwight Freeney. We're doing edge rush stuff. He's like, put this towel down. He's timing me from like when I can bend and grab the towel. And then he's doing it from start. Like, he's got multiple watches. I'm like, there's no way this can be even accurate. I don't even know what you're doing. I'm gassed. That's one time. Next time, Steve Spagnuolo, who was the Rams head coach, Giants, and I don't even know where Spags is at. Oh, he's in Kansas City. Now, so Schleggs and I were there, and AJ didn't do any of the workouts because he's going to be a top 5 guy. I'm good. Yeah. And so they're like, hey, same thing, Spags. Oh, quick 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, I got Schleggs. I got another guy with me. It won't be as bad. And I did a full-on, I came right off the field, and he was, waiting out there. I come out, and he's got us doing, back pedal weaves, the whole length of the field. He's like, get down. I'm like, dude, my legs are blowing up. Awful. I'm like, you're not going to complain because you can't look soft. You're not in shape. Oh, it was so bad. I remember walking off. It was like 6 a.m. I was dead.
That's horrible.
He had us low, and he's like, you think we're almost done? I'm like, I don't know. You don't want to ask. Hey, I'm like, I remember I said something. It started at 9. And he's like, yeah. I was like, Coach, I got class at 10:30. I was still finishing up. I'm like, you think it was 9:45? He's like, oh yeah, 15 more minutes. I'm like, jeez. I was kind of hoping the preps I wouldn't have to sprint out there and just be a sweaty mess to class. But it was those guys love it, man. Those individual workouts. It's just the coaches, so it's like their dream. They don't have anyone else.
Yeah, for sure, man. I can remember watching Darren Lee, Steve Miller, and we had another defensive player, linebacker guy that year, work out for the Patriots, and it was what's the head coach of the Dolphins? He was the coach.
Oh, B-Flow, Brian Flores.
Yeah, but he just got
he was their
coordinator, but he didn't get the title or whatever. He was throwing the ball so hard at these guys, with backpedal with sprint. And Steve Miller, he's a defensive man out of trade, but he's working about a linebacker.
Oh yeah,
Steve got hit in the face with this ball. Oh my God! I was like, dude,
I forgot about that.
I was like, I'm gonna just go in the facility. Those guys definitely love it though.
Spencer, who's got the most to prove tomorrow?
I think it's Baron Browning actually. You look at a guy who played linebacker his entire career. They shuffled him around wherever they needed a linebacker. I think he's probably a 3-4 guy. I think Bobby probably has a better read on that because he played it. But I think he's a good edge rusher. He showed that at times during his career. I'm anxious to see where NFL teams want him to fit. But I think if Baron Browning has a good pro day, I think he could start to slide up in these next couple weeks.
Well, the thing is, when you see these guys, too, in person, Baron's like a physically impressive dude. He's big, he's tall. It's not just like, okay, you see the numbers, 6'3", and the weight, but then it's like, how are guys built? Like, he's a broad-shouldered guy. He's got strong legs, good base. He's put together. He's not a doughy dude.
Yeah.
And, it'll be big for him to go out there and be able to show, like, I'm an elite athlete. Some of these things, he didn't play. He was injured. He was beat up. Great edge rusher. Really good athletic in coverage. Not really a great, like, traditional inside backer. When he starts talking about run reads, like, it's just not his deal. He was an edge guy in high school, and he's really stinking good at it. And so if he can show some of that there, because these guys that you're getting right now, to be able to be a flex linebacker that can rush the passer, can drop, play man-to-man on tight ends, do stuff like that, and he's got the frame. Like, I think it's a really big day for him.
All right, it's a big day. It's also a big day tomorrow at Roosters, Bobby. You didn't even start on your mozzarella sticks, but that's Appetizer Tuesday. We're going to take a quick break, load up on some Roosters food. We'll be right back.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into Roosters. By the way, I took 1 week off, and the signs disappear off the table when Burham is hosting. I know that you guys must have missed me because, all year, this is my show. I need 1 week off. Burham handles it. I watched it. It was great. You guys handled it just fine, but it seems like things are falling apart the next week, Bob.
Yeah.
You need some dude-on-dude accountability here.
That's what Schlags. That's what the Jacksonville Jaguars mantra. Dude-on-dude accountability, Cardale. That's what they're all about down there.
So I was the first. Golly. Why am I not surprised?
Exactly.
Why am I not surprised? So when I was just in Arizona, I was training with I forgot Greg's last name, but he's one of the defensive backs for Jacksonville, and he had just left from being there like a week. Yeah. He just left from being there for a week or so, and because he was doing some type of rehab, whatever it may be, and that was his thing. He was like, man, he's like, he asked me that play once. Like, when I was like, no, he was my coach, my strength coach. He's like, dude, he's crazy.
How old does he think you are?
Yeah, I was like,
Schlegel acts like he's about 14.
But yeah, that's why he said, because he said he's definitely like relate to the guys. And like I said, one thing Schlegel's gonna have to get used to is the off-season program with NFL. It's no off-season program. I said he's not going to see his guys. His guys are going to be his dogs, his Miles Jackson and those dog guys until like the last week of OTAs and maybe minicamp. Yeah. And it's going to drive him crazy, right? It's going to drive him crazy because, these guys, everybody go off in the off-season and train with their trainers and their weight staff and stuff like that. And I'm like, Schlegel have to understand quickly how the NFL.
Oh, he was telling me, who's their stud receiver? Shark.
Yeah.
And Shark, he's from LSU, and he's like, man, you're so skinny. He's like $170. He's like, wow, I used to be bigger in college. I don't really like lifting. He's like, hey, Michael Thomas, 215. NFL record for catching balls. He's like, we're getting you there. We're getting there. And just on him. He goes, you know what though? Like, this because Shark has an unbelievable persona and dudes buy in.
I was about to say, he gets you to think you about to do that.
Those guys are buying in. And then part of it is he's training there with you. And he's doing it. He goes, I did all the workouts. And I had my other strength coach do them. Like, no, we can't do this. Dudes aren't going to be able. They're not going to train as fast as you. You need to cut the tempo down. Some of the older guys. And he's done a really good job because I believe those are the same things. I'm like, you can't train them like you do over at the Woody. These dudes they'll drop the walkout.
Well, I said, it'd be like, screw you, see you later, buddy.
So you got to get them. Part of it, they've got to believe that you have their best interest, which is easy with him because he's a guy who you believe because he does. He's like, I want you to get paid. I want you to be healthy, play 16, 17, whatever the games is, and we're going to sit there. We're going to get you paid. You're going to be a great player. And this is how we need to get you there. And so guys will buy in. There's good communication back and forth. But, that's why he thinks he's so young. He's in there probably doing the workouts. He was doing the running and stuff on the field. It's insane.
He's trying to earn an actual player contract still for Urban down there.
Oh, for sure. He just wanted – He got one rundown on kickoff inning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe punt because you get a better chance of a return. Maybe one.
Swags is the only linebacker. You know, when Tress was here, we were all of the guys were always on punt. Swags is the only linebacker that they didn't put on punt team.
Oh, wow.
They tried Swags one time in a kick scrimmage, blocked. He never got out of his kick slide. It was the worst looking thing ever. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is what it takes to get off of there is you just have to play terrible, and like they're going to take you off. Rick's like, you can't do it. Get
Just
out
don't
of there.
understand.
Oh my God.
So speaking of trying to get guys healthy, Bob, Ohio State's 5 practices into the spring, and we know that it's not always the most important for some of the veteran guys, but not having a Harry Miller for this camp, for instance, or Haskell Garrett, he's going to be unavailable. Dallas Gant at linebacker.
He hurt his ankle, right?
Yeah, he's out. Yeah. He's out for camp. You still have Cameron Brown out and Court Williams. So there's 5, 6 guys who could be starters for this team. Now this is 2 springs in a row for them. So I asked Ryan Day, does this one worry you more than it would a normal year? Because anyone can make up for those 15 practices. I don't want to make it into a bigger deal than it is, but after what Ohio State lost, like everybody last year in terms of development, it seems to me like it might be a little bit more of a challenge for Ohio State. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but that this would be the spring where you really wanted those top flight guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. You look at, and I'm going to try to compare it a little bit to the basketball of NCAA right now.
Yeah.
And you used to seeing the teams like the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Kansas, and these top programs historically have that freshman come in and be the guy and potentially first-round draft pick and all this other stuff, and they just loaded with 3 or 4 top freshmen. And they lost that development period. And now I don't even know who Duke record was this year, things like that, because they based on their firepower was always so young. Now, when you have that in your older guys that finally have an opportunity to get on the field, but still missing 2 springs of development, yeah, you got to be worried a little bit, right? You say these guys in a way sit back and wait their turn, but when it's time to really get those reps that you need under your belt, you was kind of cut short from last year because of COVID. So now those returning starters, they probably have more on their plates because they don't know exactly what those younger guys do. Now those younger guys are a year older, now the same thing. Or some of these guys are a year older, now the same thing, missing out on a lot of development time. And really, spring ball is really about finding out who your leaders is, finding out about who those guys are going to be on the field. And it's hard. Yeah, you can say a leader even though, he's maybe out. It's hard to lead from the sideline. Right. Oh. It's hard to lead from the sideline.
No one wants to hear, and that's nothing against that, but no one wants to hear the dude who's completely fresh. So
you get it, or go harder, or don't get. It's tough.
Stay focused, guys. Like, hey man, I understand you're on crutches, and I love you, but I don't need to be hearing this.
Exactly. So those guys are missing that aspect, not the development part, but that aspect of pretty much bonding and establish their leadership in their role as their. I don't want to say alpha male, but yeah, alpha male of these younger guys.
So you got to think about this. The offensive line's got a lot of guys returning. And Harry Miller's most likely slotted to play center, and so your center's one of the leaders. You got a quarterback battle going on with a lot of young guys. So you're not getting any leadership really at that position.
Exactly. These guys trying to stay afloat.
Defensively, all your linebackers are gone, and those are 4 seniors that were very vocal leadership guys that are running the huddle and making a lot of the checks. You've got Haskell the Rascal Garrett now sitting out. Like, and that hurts. Like a lot of your guys, don't have the opportunity. Dallas again, he's someone who's been in there. Him and Taraja Mitchell, we've talked about that a lot. Those guys, Kayvon Pope, okay, so those guys, you need to be in there. They need to be playing together. They need to be able to call other guys out, make sure that they're communicating. And the leadership piece, because this is where you kind of forge your team. It's in the winter, and then it's now. And frankly, even in the winter, they were doing some stuff. It's like, all right, what's this section of the team and this section of the team? It's important, and as well as anyone, Cardale, Mick, you get to bring everybody together. You're doing Team Up North Day. I mean, there's a developmental process as a team that you're going through where it's painful together. And the reason you can trust on those guys and count on them is they're going through the same thing you are, and you see them and you experience them like, hey, this dude, he was a rough day. He never quit, kept going. He's failing, keeps battling at it. And those are the things that you see, and that's when you get to pick guys up and help them out a little bit. And so it's just, I worry a little bit just not being able to see that happen, because that's the stuff you hate as a player, because it's no fun. It's stuff nobody sees, but that's the stuff that, you know what, when you get a helmet put into your sternum when you're running for a first down, like those are the things you kind of rely on. And you lean over, all right, and everybody picks you up, we got this guy, and we'll pull together with him. And those are the things that you need to have happen in the off season.
Yeah, for sure. But it also gives the opportunity for other guys to step up and become leaders and to step up and take advantage of these opportunities. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to take a position of Haskell Garrett when he's returned, but you're going to be relied upon on, and you're going to be, Coach Johnson's going to trust you enough to whoever his backup is to put you in that position if Haskell need a breather or two. And then it just reminds me of when we didn't have Braxton for that whole year, and definitely going out in camp, it was like, oh my God, our leader, especially on offense, I know that was our panic. Our leader is gone. Who? Mind you, we're looking for a guy you want to do it? You want to do it? You want to do it?
Well, you don't feel comfortable saying something.
Exactly.
You haven't really earned that role. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, that's so funny, man. Speaking of not feeling comfortable to say something, oh my God, man, just being in a leadership role, and I've never been too much of a vocal leader, especially the day of a game, And it was Minnesota. It was actually the last game I played here, and JT had some issues, so he couldn't play that game. And JT every time after our we come in for our final one before we go out, Coach Warner would say something, and then JT would usually say something to get the guys up, and then we hit the field, all right? So I'm just watching Coach Warner, and I'm getting hyped because I know I'm starting. It's my pretty much last game, and I'm just this is gonna be great, blah blah blah. And Coach Warner get done talking, and he's like, Cardale, you got him. I was like, he's expecting me to work on three guys, but literally just froze up because I wasn't that solid leader, and even times I was playing, I didn't feel myself I'm the guy, the leader, and things like that. But I think this would be a great opportunity for these younger guys to step up and have the opportunity to do so.
I think that's why when Al Washington was talking last week that we know that there's two guys playing inside linebacker, but one of them's got to be the middle, the Mike, and anchor that. And it was looking like that was going to be Dallas Gant, and it still could be. He can make up for that time, like I said. But I think the uncertainty for Ohio State is why there's still Spencer involved in the transfer portal. Why there's a lot of heavy interest and possibility there with Tennessee and Henry 2020. If I have that right, I don't know. It's another pronunciation that I'll have to maybe learn.
Does he like McDonald's?
Well, I mean, he was at Tennessee. He must have been loving it. So
perfect.
That's he's in there. That's an opportunity. But I think that's why if you're looking at this for Ohio State with no returning starters and then the fifth leading tackler, Dallas Gant, now out, that's so much uncertainty. That's why you can't turn down anything that may be out there if there's experience, Spencer.
Yeah, you got to keep your options open. I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think they're playing it the right way. They're seeing what they have in the building right now, seeing how this linebacker room could shake out. Hey, we need a middle linebacker. Hey, there happens to be a former 5-star guy who has experience playing high-level football, and he was a All-American as a freshman, I think. Freshman All-American. He was an All-SEC player twice, I think. So it's a guy who could really, really help them. Now, the interest from Ohio State's there. He at least has some interest, but now it's basically Ohio State, Alabama, or go back to Tennessee. I can't really see him going back to Tennessee now.
One of those options is not like the other.
Yeah, and so his dad has said, we're not going to make that mistake again by going away from Alabama, but at the same time, Ohio State is selling a very, very good sales pitch right now. The opportunity to play right away, to play for a national championship, to win the Big Ten, and to step in and become a leader where, Alabama has those linebackers every year. And if you can come into Ohio State and instantly be that leader and that middle linebacker that really, those linebackers at Ohio State were great the last few years, but they haven't had that middle linebacker who was a true, incredible All-American style player and a leader at the same time. If you can do that at Ohio State, I think that says something. So I think that's Ohio State's playing it correctly. Henry 2020 is playing it correctly.
Okay.
And I think it's a match made in heaven. Now they just have to both come to terms with that.
Yeah, I mean Ohio State hasn't had that guy since Anthony Schlegel. Maybe not. Maybe
I was going to lump Raekwon in there.
Maybe Raekwon.
He's a bit of a
Raekwon
leader.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Raekwon was very stoic. You got to be who you are, man.
Yeah.
If you're not a talker, you're not a talker. AJ didn't talk at all. Raekwon not really a talker. But when he said something, people listened. That's
how did
important.
AJ go from not talking at all to doing a daily podcast with?
I don't know. That's a great question. I told this people you've got your senior superlatives, your yearbook. AJ most likely to be a hermit, least likely to work anything in the media. I mean, he avoided the plague. He never liked talking to anybody. I think his wife, Laura, loosened him up over the years. He has more fun with it now. I don't know. But he didn't. He wanted no part of that. He was never the pregame speech guy. He used to. get mad when guys get up there and just ramble on. It's just he's like, let's just go play. Like, don't worry about all that stuff.
He just needed Cardale up
That's
there.
me. No, that's me. I was like, guys, we got a game. Let's go get to work.
You know how
guys.
Coach.
That's nothing else I can say at this point, or anyone.
You know how Coach Tress would have the seniors say the blessing at the night before dinner. Dude, you want to talk about some of the most classics? Or AJ's or the best. You had to talk to Joel Penton, who was one of the more spiritual guys on our team, and like, just give me an outline of like how, because AJ would get so I think like nervous and just I don't want to butcher it, just like stumble through some stuff, and he's like AJ, and just like stammer some things out. It's dead silent. And like had no ending point, no landing. I mean, it's like Ben Stiller and Ben Stiller Meet the Parents. And so Joel gave him a little bit of like, okay, here's a roadmap. We'll say this, have a little in here, and then we'll finish it up, close it up, and you'll be good. The 15, 30 seconds, doesn't need to be long.
It's the you hanging with your peers, your boys, pretty much all year round, all day. But as soon as you got to get up and speak in front of it, it's a completely different atmosphere. And I remember Coach Meyer used to torture guys like that. Like, as soon as we travel to a away game, and he'll ask something about that state, like, what the state known for.
Gosh.
And, man, he used to tell guys, like, on the spot, just get guys up, hey, Wisconsin, I guess Wisconsin is known for dairy. Yeah. And he was like, name a dairy product to a guy named Jamal Marcus. Jamal Marcus.
Oh, gosh. name a dairy product. It's like Celebrity Jeopardy.
He say, name a dairy. He said, Wisconsin is big for dairy product, blah, 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 leader in cheese, blah, 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 something like that. Name a dairy product. And while he's saying it, he's like, go, say it. He goes, cow. He go, the cow. And the whole team just, we lose. And then I'm spilling the beans on these guys. Then Von Bell, we getting ready to play Berkeley, Cal.
Cal, yeah.
And man, he tell him to spell California.
Oh, jeez.
Von goes, K. And that's what happens right there. That's what happens. Everybody go crazy. Everybody went crazy. And then we're freaking East Lansing, man, get ready to play Michigan State after the year they beat us. So, no, this is the night game at Michigan State because they beat us in the Big 12 championship the year before.
This is 2014,
Yeah. And Coach Meyer asked a guy, man, Bronte Dunn was my roommate at the time, man. He asked him to spell Detroit. So Coach Meyer, and it's the intimidating factor of him yelling and going, come on, go.
Yeah.
So Bronte Dunn just completely froze up, like. So he's like, "Would you know how to spell it?" He goes. So the team went
that honestly
crazy.
might have been the best thing is not say anything. He doesn't have any ammo. Like, just say, I don't know.
Man,
I'm out.
He's just like, then as the guy started to spell something or say something, he's just like, "What? I can't hear you. Speak up!" And like, I just get so flustered, man. I'm just like, "Oh my god,
that's amazing."
Yeah.
This is what
Public
I missed.
speaking.
This is what I missed last Monday. I do appreciate Berm coming in, but so fun to hang out here at Roosters with these guys and get these great stories. Talk some Ohio State football. Pro Day tomorrow. 10 more practices for spring. Spring game coming up in about a month now. We're gonna have closer than that, 3 weeks. We're gonna have full coverage of that. Maybe an event with these guys, unless Cardale's on a roster by then. We'll see what happens. Bobby Carpenter, Cardale Jones, Spencer Holbrook. Great to be back here. Come check out Roosters. Got some mozzarella sticks on Appetizer Tuesday. Take those home. That's Liberty's new favorite thing to eat. So we've got a new fan. And I'm just Austin Ward. We'll see you next Monday for full coverage. Stay with us for Ohio State football at lettermenrow.com.